PS1 Individual Presentation by Abigail Minot. My literature review explored the need for protocol, etiquette and culture knowledge within the service industry and the tourism service sector, as well as within my placement organisation, BP. When considering the focus of this literature review, the main factor was the social element of the steeple analysis. Using academic and credible sources, I researched different types of service industries and their impact on the depth of knowledge needed in relation to customer service and etiquette, as well as determined etiquette and awareness of etiquette and culture and beliefs to be very relevant in the modern workplace. Below is a list of the key authors I used. My literature review also focused on 4 major themes. These themes were: if the code of procedure or behaviour within society as well as work are still as significant, if etiquette and professionalism are skills that are required in general or just within work, and if cultural awareness and diversity are still as important in everyday life as they are within the tourism service industry. The outcomes and main themes of the research and literature showed that the correct structured protocol, etiquette and culture knowledge were just as essential today, or even more so, than in the past, and the tourism service sector and service hospitality industry must continue to advance them. This was also very relevant within the walls of BP, and I made sure to link all my findings to the history of the palace as well as now. Potential cause and effect implications. In my placement, potential cause and effect implications can be very varied. Some examples are as follows. 1. How important information is given to new staff, them being new permanent staff or hired agency. 2. Different departments sharing the same equipment and places or spaces. 3. Communication between departments throughout BP. And 4, how service is being affected by short staffing and reducing or cancelling workers to save money. A cause and effect implication is where one is the result of the other, so a combination of action and reaction. Point 1. Currently, important information is given or told to staff through online courses, reminders and posters around the palace, as well as short inductions or briefings with small groups at the beginning of events, etc. So these are all quite thorough, although some are more used than others. So, for example, posters dotted around the palace are useful, but they're very rarely used when there are new staff. Things could definitely be made just that little bit more detailed to help staff from the beginning instead of them learning through making mistakes. Point 2, different departments sharing the same equipment such as crockery, cutlery, glasses and linen, as well as places. Currently the same rooms are used at the same times throughout the day, and it can get very crowded. As staff, we have to all kind of learn how to work together, but it is really hard. So, for example, the Orangery Bar is where drinks are served to guests in the restaurant. However, this is also shared with the events team, so this includes all equipment, not just the space. So this gets very tedious on both departments. Point 3, so the communication between departments throughout BP, this being anything from miscommunication in paperwork before an event even starts, to during an event when different departments have been told different things and so small things mess up, etc. A lot of the time communication is good, but sometimes certain things get left out which don't seem like a big deal, but they have a domino effect. So, for example, a department called Groups plans all the group lunches and afternoon teas. They make function sheets for the event team, and then we use it to set up and carry out the lunch as planned. But if timings or additional information has been done wrong or is off by a little bit, it means that this creates problems for us in the long run. And then point 4, lastly, a potential cause and effect implication is how service is being affected by short staffing and reducing and cancelling workers to save money. So usually around the palace grounds there would be enough staff to cope with customers. However, now with cutting costs and trying to save money has meant staff from all over the cafes as well as during events, are being reduced and cancelled so money can be saved. This is understandable as agency staff are about double in money compared compared to staff with inside the company. However, cutting too many agency staff leaves a strain on the service being provided, and in the long run has an effect on the reviews from customers on sites such as TripAdvisor. So while working in hospitality side at BP as well as events, this has happened to me a lot, and so it definitely, from my experience, does affect service to an extent. So this is a briefing checklist that my manager uses to make sure he helps in any way he can to prep new staff or new agency staff. I just thought I'd put this on there because it links really well with my first point. So this is more, however, just referred to then checked off religiously, and so some things do get forgotten, but it is a good step in the right direction for the company, definitely. Okay, so recommendations. So recommendations that could be done to help and develop the cause and effect implication of how important information is given to new staff is as follows. So firstly, to make a positive change would be to have interactive ways for staff to learn and detailed inductions or briefings using props if necessary, such as having a place setting already made up so staff can practice service. And for example, to kind of like know which wines to pour in what glasses. And also secondly, developing an interactive quiz or like on a website or an app for new staff to take once completed the initial induction and necessary briefings. So both of these could be easily set up and would help both catering side and palace side of BP, because training would be made more fun as well as always being accessible to keep staff updated in any knowledge needed. And then secondly, recommendations for different departments sharing the same equipment and places. One would be to, in the long run, invest in a separate place in the palace that would be suitable to prep everything. So like have a separate events HQ type of thing, separate to the orangery, so everyone isn't always getting on each other's toes. And then also to invest in separate equipment, so not everything but just certain things such as separate glass washer or separate cups and saucers, so we're not always using and almost competing for the same equipment. So recommendations for point 3, so for better communication between departments throughout BP, I would say make sure staff always communicate everything regarding information for events by maybe creating a checklist so nothing is left off of function sheets. And then also another recommendation, but for better communication generally, rather than just purely for events, would be maybe creating a Facebook group for all staff or like an email list or something like that, so nothing is missed regarding anything within BP. And then also lastly, recommendations for point 4 for how service is being affected by short staffing and reducing and cancelling workers to save money. In this case, a positive change would be, instead of reducing all agency, so it's just the bare minimum people that already work in the cafes within the company, that they still have a couple of agency. So it's staff from within the company as well as a couple or a few agency staff. So money would still be being saved, but not, service wouldn't be compromised as much. Okay, so this is a picture from the Palace grounds explaining some of the company's promises for the next 8 years to visitors. I thought I'd add it in as it shows BP are really trying to change and make themselves better for visitors and staff, as well as a bigger thing, such as the environment. So I just thought I'd put it in because it definitely shows, even without obviously people recommending things and everything like this, they are trying to make a change and trying to make their their establishment as best as they can be. Conclusion. So in conclusion, the correct structured protocol, etiquette and cultural knowledge are just as essential today, or even more so than in the past, and the tourism service sector and service hospitality industry must continue to advance them. So my placement organisation has required me to have and develop different skills, such as knowing the correct etiquette and protocol, as well as cultural knowledge, and furthering my training in basic knowledge such as health and safety. Although saying this, BP also has a lot of improvements that could be made to training, as well as overall improvements within communication and financial situation regarding equipment and space, as well as the concept of there is such thing as saving too much money when it comes to quality of service. These are my references used within my presentation and my reflection. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed my individual presentation, and my name is Abigail Minot. Thank you very much.